How's it going, guys? Nice to see y'all. Just setting up my chat here. Let's see. Here we go. YouTube chat. And yeah, that's basically it. Now I just need to make sound. Hello, hello. How's this? Hey, what's up? 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 Okay, there we go. There it is. Okay, it was echoing. All right. Oh, here we go. Ooh, we're gonna put it. Hello, hello. Yes, yes. Fire. Hello, hello. Yes, yes. Hello, hello. Yes, yes. Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, okay. Put it at five. See what the number five. Hey guys, what's going on? It's V4. Hey, very good. Everything sounds fine. Okay, let's hope. It's down. And let me mute this. That here. How do I? And then we're gonna sub. Let's pump this up to 15. Hello. Hi. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. It's V4 here. Um, he's back. He's back at it. The menace is here. And we're going to be tackling a wide variety of news today. There has been a lot that has been happening. I would say a lot of not great stuff. It's been a I would say sobering time. And you can make the argument that it's been like that for God, I don't know, since like maybe the last 8 years, maybe 10 years. Maybe some people would argue since Columbine, but it's been tough. You know, the whole violence situation. Obviously, this happened a while ago now, but I haven't gotten to talk about the Charlie Kirk assassination, and that's very sad. Charlie Kirk was assassinated in front of his two children and his wife, his two kids. And they're small kids too, so that's a very that's a extremely traumatizing experience. And you know the the video was all over the internet. You know, that's everywhere. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I don't know. You know, I'm a free speech person, so like it's fine with me. But you know, that's something that his kids could at any moment go and see. It reminds me a little bit of like, and I used to think about this back at the time, but the rapper Eminem, he used to rap a lot about, you know, the challenges of being a father, right? And being successful, right? And having to balance his life. And also, you know, being a drug addict and having all the issues that he had coming from a poor upbringing. And so his kids were in a lot of his songs. And I used to think, I was a kid at the time, I used to think like, man, his kids are gonna, when they grow up, they're gonna be able to hear this music, you know, and they're gonna like, what are they gonna think, man? Like, because some of the themes that he covers, it's, I would say, you know, it's very extreme, you know, in typical rap manner. So yeah, this is a bit like that, but worse because the kid's father was assassinated. He's dead and he's not coming back, and he was killed in such a brutal manner. Like as many have already said, like I saw the video. There was globs of blood. Like a lot of people were saying, like there's no way that there's no way that they're gonna get there in time to be able to like you know patch this up. Um, just extremely horrifying stuff. And you know, a while back we had a situation with the Democrat uh, from Minnesota. I think it was yeah, it was the Democrat from Minnesota. Was she part of the? I forget what her name was. Let's see here. Refresh my memory. She was assassinated. Democrat assassinated. Um, yeah, Minnesota legislators. And this was State Senator Portman, the leader of the House Democratic Caucus, was killed alongside her husband, Mark, earlier that morning. So, okay. So that was Melissa Hortman. Uh, you know, and it was her and her. She was killed alongside her husband, Mark. You know, um, and when this happened, I was streaming. Was I streaming? I don't remember. I don't remember if I had started streaming yet, but I was planning on, you know, like I was thinking about like making a YouTube video or something like that, and I didn't end up doing it. But this was very sad. Um, there was some controversy. I don't remember if we got around to the situation where they like did they find out what the guy like. I mean, a lot of people are very something that people are very focused on these days, and it's the idea of like, what team was the guy on who killed her? What team was the guy on who killed Charlie Kirk? You know, we just had an attempted, no, an assassination of. It was an attack on an ice facility, and there was three people that were hurt. I think two people were killed, and it's like whose side was he on? Was he a conservative? Was he a liberal? You know, was he left or right? Um, and I'm not sure exactly what what they found out about the guy who killed her. Let me see if they assassination. This was Luth Vance Bolger. Inside Bolger's vehicle was a list of nearly 70 people, including abortion rights advocates, you know, Democratic politicians, and abortion providers. So it sounds like he was targeting left wing people. He was I believe he was associated um with Tim Waltz. He was appointed by Tim Waltz. You know, he was speaking about against transgender people. So yeah, it seemed like this guy was probably more right wing. Um, his anti-abortion views were a possible motive. He had no party preference. So you know, on a state document in 2019, he wrote that he had no party preference. Well, there's more to a person than a political party. Everybody has different views, and sometimes, like sometimes you're an independent. But yeah. Um, Also, it was described as somebody who voted for Donald Trump. Oh, okay. So he was looking around for work, struggling to find work, and then immediately gave up and decided to go out in a blaze of glory. There was a darkness in saying that there was a darkness in. Okay. Well, anyways, um, this was a political attack. This was a political assassination, just like the Charlie Kirk thing, and it's very sad. Um, it's just things are out of control. Things are out of control, and you can make the argument that they've been out of control for a long time now. And I want you to talk about that. So we're gonna go over why is this happening? Why is it that there's so much political violence? Why are so many people being murdered? Like we had Trump, the Trump assassinations. We had Charlie Kirk. We had this the 2025 shootings of the Minnesota legislators. It's all over the place, and it's not gonna go away. And I don't think the answer is easy, and I don't think the answer is something that a lot of people would like, me included. But we're gonna talk about the why, and I want to get to the center of the issue. Why is it that people are doing this now on a level that they haven't before? So let's see. Let's start here.
Second Thought is now on
Oh,
Memes
I'm just
TV.
gonna have this video about the media playing here as a visual. Um, why did the Charlie Kirk assassination happen? Why did we have the Democratic Minnesota legislators that were assassinated, earlier this year? Why did we have the Trump assassinations last year? The assassination attempts last year. Why are things out of control? Why did we just have the ICE situation that just happened yesterday, where somebody tried to assassinate ICE personnel and just shot into an ICE facility? Two people were killed, and one person was killed, and two were wounded. Why is this happening? And the reason why this is happening, a lot of people, since some of these are based on the United States, they think, oh, it's because of guns. But one of the things that I want to quickly address is the fact that guns, yes, guns kill people, and they're very dangerous, and they're more dangerous than a lot of other weapons, like for example knives. But this stuff is not just happening in the United States. It's happening in Europe. It's happening, in places like that. There's violence and uprising all over the world, and you see a lot of it. For example, even recently in the UK, like tensions are really high, and the reason for that, is not just guns. It's not just guns. Guns make killing, I think, accessible in a way. They absolutely do. But that doesn't stop these assassinations from happening. The reason why it's happening, it's because there's a fanning of the fire. Somebody's fanning the flames. And why is that happening? It's because there's an incentive for chaos. There's an incentive for people to get riled up. Why is that? Well, I think that it's because money. That's the answer. But there's two key, I think, instigators, and we will separate them into, I guess, two categories. First of all, this is an old school one, and that's the media, as you're seeing here. It's the media, it's the news, right? This is a classical problem, right? Like the media has been around for a long time, since we've had print. And one of the things that over time, right? Because the media is a business and it's an industry. And just like any industry, you're going to have companies that do well and succeed, and you're going to have companies that don't. You're going to have companies that try new things and succeed, and then you're going to have companies that try new things and fail, right? And so eventually you start figuring out what works and what doesn't. And what they realized is that the kinds of news that make people tune in, make people back in the day buy the newspaper, make people buy the magazine, and so on and so forth, is things that trigger certain emotions. Is things that make people alert and go, wait, what? Wait, what's happening? Wait, huh? And one of the ones that keep people the most engaged is when it's something bad, or it's something negative, or it's something that triggers anger, disgust, and a certain level of hostility. This is why political news are so, I would say, so engaging to people. It's because you get into the situation where it's always like this sort of left versus right, or this red versus blue. And it's this thing that's always happening. There's always new news, and there's always something fanning the flames, because the media always has something to push. So why is it that things that make us angry and things that make us alert, why is it that something that catches our attention so much? Well, this goes back to us being animals, right? Our bodies evolved to be, in the wilds, in the caves, in a natural environment, hunting and gathering, right? And so if you think of yourself, if you imagine yourself being in a forest and you're with your tribe, right? And everything's fine. You got your little kids running around. You guys are like, I don't know, you guys are making vases. You guys are making pottery vases or something. What is the one thing that's going to make you immediately drop what you're doing and pay attention, right? It's when something big, something loud, something dangerous, something threatening happens, you know? Or when somebody gets hurt or something bad happens to somebody, right? And so you hear, like the roar of a tiger. Immediately you're alerted, right? Immediately you are oh man, I got to start recording this thing. Okay. So I'm gonna start this over again. Sorry. Okay. Hey guys. Today we're gonna be talking about the Charlie Kirk situation. We're gonna be addressing why there has been so much political violence. Why is it that we had the assassination attempts for Trump. We had the Charlie Kirk situation, so on and so forth. We just had the ICE attacks yesterday, where somebody tried to shoot, or they were shooting into a ICE facility, and one person was wounded. No, one person was dead, and two people were wounded. Right, and all of these are politically motivated attacks. Now, some people are going to bring up guns. Why guns? Right, like well, not why guns, but they're going to bring up guns, and they're going to say, hey, the reason why this happens is because in America they have guns. But what we've seen is that this stuff hasn't just been happening in the United States. It's been happening in countries like the UK and Germany and so on and so forth, where they don't have guns, right? So over there, what they'll use is they'll use, like melee weapons. They will use knives. They will use cars. They will use like sort of like bombs, right? And any other tool they can get their hands off to kill people they don't like, kill people that they feel that are on the opposite side of the political spectrum, and so on and so forth. So it's not just guns. Guns are bad in a sense that, well, guns are bad for, they make killing easier, right? I'm not going to say guns are bad, but guns do make killing accessible. This is very true, right? They're very effective, but you don't just take away the guns and it stops, as we see in Europe. And the reason why this is happening, and this is what I really want to get to, is that there's two entities that are fanning the fires. There is an incentive for people to be in a state of high tension, in a state of fear, in a state of anger, right? For people to feel negative emotions. And that's because these two entities make money from your attention. And so, what are the two entities? One, it's the media. So, like the news media. And two, it's social media. But first, we're going to talk about the media, right? The media, like any industry, has many competing businesses. And these businesses make money, right? And compete against each other. And what you'll see is that there is a sort of like natural selection that takes place where the media, where essentially you have companies that try new things and find new novel ways to keep people watching succeed, and companies that try new things and those methods don't work fail, right? And so eventually, once there's enough trialing, once there's enough, best practices that are developed, eventually you have a method. And that's what's happened is that companies have optimized the delivery of news so much that now they know what kinds of news gets people to tune in. And the kinds of news that get people to tune in and get people to stay tuned in is the stuff that triggers negative emotions like anger, disgust, fear, so on and so forth. And why is it those emotions? Well, we are animals and we have, our bodies evolved to be in an environment, or our bodies evolved in an environment where we're essentially in the wilds, right? We're in the caves. And that's because that's where we spent most of our history. Like all of this stuff, smartphones, the television, radio, the printing press, all of that is new. There hasn't been much change in our bodies. There hasn't been much evolution since this stuff was developed. We're still basically the same as we were, 10,000 years ago. And so if you put yourself back into a natural environment and you're there and you're in a tribe and you're, I don't know, you're making pottery, right? You're there, the kids are running around, everything's okay. What are the things that are going to trigger your attention and get you to immediately drop what you're doing and get you to continually engage with whatever it is that is demanding your attention, right? Your outside attention, right? The outside thing. And let's imagine a bear shows up. A bear shows up and he does a bear growl or whatever. Immediately, everybody's going to be looking. Everybody's going to turn around. Everybody's going to immediately have their devoted attention on the bear because they feel fear, right? And because that fear is a signal that your survival is at stake. And all organisms are wired to survive and reproduce, right? So if we don't survive, we're done. And so, of course, fear is one of those things that gets you, that triggers your engagement. You have to be looking at things that are dangerous to you, right? You have to keep an eye on them and you have to make sure that you resolve this. And you're not going to go back and continue to pottery until that fear, whatever it is that was triggering that fear, is resolved. And anger is another one, right? These negative emotions, they're there for a reason. And usually these are things that have to do with our survival. And so they're very important for you to pay attention and let those emotions kind of guide you to dealing with whatever it is that's triggering those emotions. The problem is that when a bear shows up, right, that's like a one-time thing. The tribe eventually resolves that. Everybody starts chucking spears and hoping for the best. And eventually the bear gets injured. Maybe he kills one or two people, but then he leaves because he's going to get injured. And he knows maybe going up against a whole tribe of humans, maybe not the best idea, right? So the bear leaves and then it's done. And that bear knows not to show up again, right? The problem is that the news have an incentive to keep people riled up. And that incentive is the fact that they make money through your attention. All companies are there to make money. All public companies are there to make more money, more profit. And the way that these media companies make money is through advertising. CNN, Fox News, they have you tune in, and then whenever there's a commercial break, ads will play, and they make money from those ads. That's where the money is made. You don't pay a subscription to watch CNN. You don't pay a subscription to watch MSNBC, right? You watch the ads. That's how they make money. And so there is this constant desire for these companies to put out news that get people watching, get people afraid, get people angry, get people engaged. If you remember, I don't know if you were around at the time when 9/11 happened. My God, the news industry loved 9/11. They love it when shit like that happens because they're gonna cover 9/11 for like half a year. You know, like 9/11, everything related to 9/11. Like I remember when I was really little, like they had the 9/11 stuff going on, and like the news media, like every day was a new thing about 9/11, and everybody was just glued to the TV, right? And it's like they had stupid stuff happening, like oh, I remember this one was really silly, but people were going crazy over it. Is that if you look, there was this one picture that they took, once the towers were hit and there was smoke that was coming out of the towers, right? And the smoke, there was a picture that was taken that made it look like the smoke looked like the devil. I shit you not. This was all over the news. It looked like the devil. So it's like, you put two and two together. Oh my God, the devil caused 9/11. The devil was behind this. Bad people were behind this. Evil people, Satan worshippers or people that the devil finds useful, And there was a big hullabaloo about that. And then it turned out that it was just somebody using Photoshop who made the picture. And it was a bunch of nothing. But this stuff kept people glued. A disaster like 9/11 kept people glued. The Iraq War kept people glued, um the storming the Capitol in 2020 or 2020, was it 2021, kept people glued. Yeah, it's 2021. All of that stuff, the whole COVID developments as COVID was developing and then making its way to the United States, all of that kept people glued. So things that generally trigger the sort of emotions that are very important to our survival are the kinds of stuff that keep people engaged and watching. The problem is that when you have people that are constantly in a state of anger, in a state of fear, right, in anxiety, it puts people in a bad mood and it makes them do bad things. And it's not everybody, right? It puts everybody in a bad mood, sure. I don't think anybody was happy. Most people were not happy about 9/11. I think most people were in a bad mood about that, but certainly most Americans. But the news, the businessmen behind it, certainly were happy with the results. They were certainly happy with the engagement of all people just watching the news 24/7. I remember I think there was a South Park episode where I think was it about 9/11 or school shootings. It might have been school shootings, and it was Stan's mother, and she's just there watching. She's on the sofa in the living room in front of the TV, just watching the news. And Stan's dad is like, "Hey, honey, like Sharon, what are you doing?" Like, and she's like having some like almost PTSD type thing over the news, and she doesn't even pay attention to him, right? And that's satire, but that's kind of the state that people get into. Like you see that in Twitter, where you have these people that are terminally online who seem to always constantly be in a war zone, right? Fighting these battles over, like arguing with people, losing their minds over news, having complete breakdowns, mental breakdowns, and crash outs and whatever. And it's not that even those people are the ones that are causing this situation, right? Or the ones that are delivering, the ones that are basically doing the assassinations. It's that there are people who are at risk, who are very sensitive to some of this stuff, who are perhaps in some ways more naive to some of these ideas, more susceptible to radicalization, and more, I would say, in many ways, some of these people are definitely mentally ill. And these are the people that are at risk when you're sending out these messages. Again, I'm a free speech person, but you have to admit that if you say some things, it does, like, people do listen to what you say. So I'm crazy people have always been around. And people that are more zealot, like I'd say, about their ideals have always been around. So why is it that we have all of this now? Why are things so bad? Like, uh, you can talk to some older people, and like back in the day, people used to like bring their rifles to school in the United States. You bring your rifle to school, and you had like like a rifle club and stuff like that. And it was nobody was getting shot. There was no school shootings. There was none of that. So it's like it's not like the guns made people crazy. What's made people crazy is all of this negativity farming that the news media do. But it doesn't stop there. Something more recent and more dangerous than the news media has um, arisen. And that, I think you guys all know where I'm going with this. That is social media. Now, why is social media worst, or I would say more effective at getting people radicalized, getting people more upset, more angry, more anxious about the state of the world? It's because social media uses intelligent algorithms. These are algorithms that are designed to essentially automate the process of showing you content, right? And so it's a more smarter tool. It's not like in the old days where you would have to, like, you would get cable, right? Or you would get like satellite or something. And it's like you get cable and then you're flipping through the channels, and you might go to channel, I don't know, channel 45, and channel 45 is CNN. No, this is different. This is, you get cable, so you get cable, and immediately, like, based on your Google account and based on the things that because this would be Google cable, I guess I'd say, because Google owns YouTube, right? So this is that kind of example. So this is based on your like Gmail history, based on all the other Google products that you've used. YouTube knows that you like I don't know, you like news about Gaza, right? So immediately when you sign up for YouTube, you use YouTube for the first time, guess what you're going to see? Or maybe you're from, maybe you have family there, maybe you've talked about it or whatever. You're going to see, let me just restart this here. Just using this for the footage of the media. You're going to see, um, news about Gaza, news about people getting blown up, news about, like, you're going to see commentary about like Israel. You're going to see commentary that's negative towards Israel, right? You're going to see every time you go into YouTube, every day there's going to be, this many casualties in Gaza, or this many casualties in the Ukraine, or this or that, and it's just this demonization of whatever it is that YouTube figures out. The algorithm in YouTube figures out that you like watching, that keeps you engaged. And it's not that the algorithm is, they're just trying to make money, because social media companies make money off of your data and off of ads, right? So social media is a more intelligent, more automatic system. Well, the old school system of like, oh, you turn on your TV, and you go to, like, you flip through channels, that wasn't as effective. You had to manually look for a channel. You had to manually tune in, right? This is just showing you immediately the latest, most engaging videos that are getting people the most riled up. And it's making people crazy. Social media is in many ways a cancer. It has its benefits. I use social media, you know. Um, hey, Autismo. Um, Hi, nice to see you. No soliciting. I don't know if you're selling art. I know a lot of people come in and they're selling art. I don't do there's no soliciting allowed in my chat. But thanks for watching. So, yeah, this is the problem. And you think to yourself, it's like, how do you solve it? Right? You start there's a lot of going on right now. A lot of discussions going on about, oh, we need to dial down the rhetoric. It's the same bullshit that happened when Trump got shot, right? And before that, it's been going on for years before that, where it's like, oh, we need to dial down the rhetoric. It happened with the storming the Capitol stuff. It happened. Hell, it even happened back in like the Hillary versus Trump days. Where people are like, we have to dial down the rhetoric because things are getting too crazy. And it's like you're not gonna stop people from getting upset. Like, you're not gonna stop people from talking shit or like you know uh saying saying speaking their mind. You're not gonna stop them from doing that. Like, that's not a telling people, hey, be nice. You're always gonna have people that are not gonna be nice. So I don't think that's really a solution, and it hasn't worked. How long have we been on this? We gotta tune down the rhetoric thing. Like, how long have we been at it? Has it been turned down? No. And why is that? Even in politics, why is that? It's because the rhetoric works. It works even for politicians. Fear mongering, getting people mad against Republicans or getting people mad against Democrats, that works. Hell, Trump won because people were mad at Democrats. Biden won because people were mad at Republicans. So this is why politicians, they're not going to really stop. They just say this bullshit, but then they'll keep going, And then the other thing is that in the United States, we have the First Amendment, which gives us a super powerful, super high level of free speech that you don't see in places like Europe, right? So like, that's just not going to stop. The First Amendment is there. And nobody's going to get rid of the First Amendment. And even if they tried, it would be extremely hard to get rid of any amendment. They can't even get rid of the Second Amendment, and that's the right to bear arms that gives us guns, allows us to have guns. They can't even get rid of that, let alone the first. So that's gonna stay. So that's not a solution. Okay. So then what else can we do? Well, you can attack, you can control, reduce, mitigate, whatever the word is, social media and the news. But again, that gets into the First Amendment, right? That gets into free speech. Censoring the news because they say, I don't know, because they're getting people angry, that's very much against the First Amendment, the right to free press, the right to free speech. So, and then there's social media, right? Like, what are you going to do? Ban people from going on social media? Are you going to start doing weird stuff like they do in Europe, where it's like some of the stuff that's been going on in the UK, where it's like you have a political party that's in power. Like, imagine like the Democrats in the US, and the Democrats make it so that whenever you talk about like right-wing policies, Republican policies, all of a sudden you get banned on Twitter. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens in the UK now. Like, if you talk about like if you're against immigration, right? If you're critical of immigration, that's not allowed. In the UK, they don't have freedom of speech like we do. So what are they going to do? Are they going to ban social media? I don't think so. And by the way, we are on a wave right now against some of the censorship that took place under the Democrats in the 2020 2024 era, right? We had the stuff with COVID. We had this stuff with the storming the Capitol, right? We had the stuff with Trump, and there was a lot of censoring attempts, and Mark Zuckerberg's talked about it. Elon Musk has talked about it, where they try to go to Twitter and they try to get them to like censor other opinions and stuff like that. So it's like we just kind of fought against that, and we're on the other side of that. And now we're gonna go back to it. Like right now, there's talk about like the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, where Jimmy Kimmel was let go because he was saying things that were insensitive about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Because obviously Jimmy Kimmel is a huge, I would say, he's very much on the left, and he's not shy about it, and he very much doesn't like Republicans, and he very much didn't like Charlie Kirk. So he said some things that were not very nice. I would say he was very critical. He was making jokes about Charlie Kirk, and then his show got taken down temporarily. Apparently, it's back now. Because there was pressure from the White House. And it's like we don't want that either. Like they shouldn't be censoring any speech, in that sense. So if you're not going to censor speech, because that's a big no-no in the United States, right? Because of the First Amendment. And if you're not going to like ban social media and the news, then what do you have left? Nothing's going to happen. This isn't going to go away. And why am I saying this? It's not even about the politicians not wanting to ban social media, or not wanting to ban free speech. There are some that probably do. This is about the people. The American people are very libertarian compared to Europeans, and I mean the American style of libertarian. I understand that libertarianism means something else apparently in Europe. I don't know. But they're very kind of free market and free to choose and do things your way kind of about things. I don't think the American people are going to be okay with flat out banning social media. And I don't think they're going to be okay with censoring speech either. This is the people are not going to be okay with that. It's a very scary thing. Imagine that. Censoring people's speech. That's scary. So if they're not going to do that, and if they're not going to ban social media, then what is the solution? There is no solution. Not as things are, there is no solution. And this is very similar to kind of how Democrats feel about the Second Amendment and guns. It's like nobody wants to ban guns. And so like every time there's like a school shooting or something, or some sort of like I want to be popular, I want to be all over the news, look at me shooting. People go, what are we going to do about this? And everybody goes, well, we're not banning guns. We're not taking away your freedoms, our freedoms. And so a lot of Democrats go, okay, so it's just going to happen again. Great. And again, I'm pro freedom. I don't want to get rid of the Second Amendment. I'm just telling it like it is. This is not going to go away. And I'm talking about the assassinations. I'm not talking about the Second Amendment. I'm not talking about guns specifically. I'm talking about the incentive to get people, to push people to the edge and get them angry and get them hostile and get them upset, and to make them dehumanize people that are on the other side. That's what I'm talking about. If you're a Democrat, the news and social media wants you to hate Republicans, because they know that when you do, and when you demonize Republicans, you're going to engage more with the social media algorithm, and you're going to watch more news about the stuff that Republicans are doing and how bad they are. And if you're a Republican, then they're going to want the same for the Democrats. They feed off of people's hate. The media and the news media and social media are vampires. They feed off of negative energy, and they want us to be more negative towards each other, and they want there to always be some sort of big event like 9/11, or like the shooting of Charlie Kirk, or the shooting of the Minnesota Democrats legislators, etc. They always want there to be some big the world is ending moment, because they know that's when you watch the most. How do you stop this? I don't think you can stop it. Not like this. If you guys have any solutions, let me know. But I can't think right now. I can't think of anything else other than making laws to stifle free speech and or to ban social media and the news. And we know how ridiculous both of those are. So my personal advice to you, if you're watching this video, do yourself a favor and don't let the media control you. Don't let the algorithms drive you insane. Take a break from social media, whenever you need it. Don't use it that much. Don't let it get to you because it is all about manipulation and they're trying to manipulate you. And the less people that we have that are being manipulated into being into being pushed to their limit, the safer and the better a country we will have. The better a world we will have. Because this isn't just a US problem. So that's what I think about the Charlie Kirk thing and the ICE thing and the recent shootings and all that, the political violence. It's looking very, very grim right now. And I don't want to alarm people. It's just I don't want to be the news media right now. But man, this is scary. So yeah. Thanks for watching. And I will catch you on the next one. So yeah. Let's see. I think that's it. I'm gonna do today. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be here tomorrow. I'm trying to be here every day. Today I ended up being later than usual. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I will see you guys on the next one. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.